Y'all already know this SV Twiz the Hood blogger. Y'all know how I carry it. Shout out to everybody that's been rocking with the content. I appreciate y'all. If y'all new to the channel, welcome to the family, man. Hit that sub button. But today, I gotta keep it all the way a stack with y'all. This is one of the most highly requested, highly anticipated stories that a lot of people been asking about. And that story is the story of Lil Rucky. What happened? Now, it's been a few rumors out there, and I want to clear those rumors up, and I want to get the facts on what took place. And before I do that, I'm going to give a backstory. So I need y'all to tune in, hit the like button, sub, share, do all of that, because this is the first time on media where this story was released that y'all getting it raw and uncut from the hood blogger. But no more needs to be said. I'm gonna get straight into it.
Yes, Lord, slick, and yo, I flip pebbles, running rebels, running levels, gunning devil. When I cop the ice on the feathers, you spot. The job done with shovels, I come with medals. 11 by your ride, come with pedals. I'm putting one in your bag, low key like undercovers with the gun in the back. Running the stack, Ocho, come in the pack. You loco, then I grip the bun in the mag. Red out your forehead, then I'm none of your hat. You running the track, so running the back. Take mines and try brick, you gon' run and collapse. I come in the mag. Two behind the one in the back. My money grow on trees, gas blow on fleas. The AC and the 600 on breeze. I stop, she screaming cause you go on please. My row on trees, why you on G's, mo on sleeves. And yeah, yo on keys, you accent. Then the folk on sleeves. I be running the men, put the gun in your men. You keep rapping, you won't get the thing done in your chin. You see an SB Lord, haters best be more. Y'all ounces while we on birds like Jeffrey Lord. In the top nipples, chain frozen like popsicles. Put the gat to your waist, make your jack cripple. Block nipple, ain't steaming like hot pickles. My side triple, chicks leaving with rock nipples.
Tarif Wooden, aka Lil Rucky, born November 23rd, 1981. What a lot of people don't know about Ruck is he was from 12th and Cambria. His mom passed when he was around the age 7. He also got an older sister and 2 older brothers. After his mom passed, him and his older brother Milk moved to the Ocho as we know it. The Ocho is 18th in Ontario. It's a part of North Philly. At this time, Rucky was 7 years old and his older brother Milk was 9 years old. When they moved to the Ocho, they met a couple guys, but 2 of the people that they met when they first moved to the Ocho was Chops and Bump. Now, Chops was the same exact age as Rucky. They both were 7 years old at the time when they met. Bump was around 11 years old, you know what I'm saying? And at the time, you know, Bump was rapping with his older brother. And also, what a lot of people don't know is, you know, Rolly is also Bump's cousin. So Bump was already a young rapper, you dig what I'm saying? He was lit in that area. So Bump was going around rapping and everything. And like I said, Chops and Ruck, they began being friends around the age of 7. With me saying this is Bump was already lit as far as rapping. He already was starting to take the rap stuff serious. So he played the mentor role to Chops and Ruck. Bump is the reason that Chops and Ruck started putting a pen together. Now, at this time, Chops and Ruck, they formed a rap group. Their rap group didn't necessarily have a name, but they was just carrying it as Chops and Ruck, just how we know Dutch and Spade was carrying it. And you know, they was hot, man. They ended up, you know, going to Gillespie Middle School, which is back Hunting Park. And during their time of being in middle school, they was just getting their pen up. Crazy thing is that, you know, all of the music that we heard from Ruck was him being young. And when Chops and Ruck was a group, it's like much respect and, you know, peace in paradise to Chops. But when Ruck and Chops was together, Ruck just took the spotlight because, you know, he was the hottest rapper out of the 2. And he also had the image, you know, he was always doing the flashy chains and stuff like that at a very, very young age. You know, he was always about getting to $1. His favorite rapper at that time was Mace. And if anybody know how Mace was rapping in the 90s, you know, Murder Mace and all of that, and Harlem World Mace, You dig what I'm saying? Mace used to talk that talk. So you could kind of hear the inspiration of Mace and, you know what I'm saying, Rucky raps. But at the same time, Rucky would still give you the street stuff with him only being in North Philly. Because like I said, he was originally from 12th and Cambria. For those of y'all that don't know, that's also North Philly. You know, it's just different sides of Broad Street. So as time go on, Chops and Ruck, they were just going around doing their thing. So Chops and Ruck was getting a name for themselves. And by this time, Bump and the Figgas, they started, you know, bumping them started the Figgas. Now brought it to Gil and them attention that they need to bring on Ruck and Chops. You know, Ruck and Chops, like, now when he was bringing this to Ruck and Chop, when Bump was telling Gil and them that, you know, we got to get Ruck and Chops, Gil and them already knew who Ruck and Chops was. They like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. So Bump played the major role in bringing a lot of people in the Figgas. It's a guy that goes by the name of Hit. Hit is a friend of Bump. Now, Bump was taking the Figgas out Yonkers on the strength of Hit. If y'all ever heard Gil, when Gil was talking about them going out New York, yeah, they was pulling up out there, but Hit played the major role into them, you know, coming around like the locks and stuff like that. So what's crazy is Hit was taking Ruck and Chops up there, and Ruck and Chops was going up there to Yonkers, and they was battling Jadakiss and them young boys, and they was wiping them out. Ruck and Chops was getting rid of them. They had built such a great relationship that Rucky was trying to bring Kiss to the Ocho just to show him the Ocho sign. Just to show him the Ocho sign, bro. And this is like a dream come true for Ruck, because we all know how the locks was for the East Coast. You know, I can't speak on the whole world, but like, you know, Philly, you know what I'm saying, the tri-state and all of that, like, you know, the locks was them guys, bro. You know, we came up to, you know, we are the streets and all of that. You dig what I'm saying? We came up to the Money Power Respect album, all them Kiss mixtapes, and those locks mixtapes. So, you know, they was them guys. So, you know, Rucky was trying to bring Kiss back to the Ocho. He wanted to bring Kiss to the Ocho just so he can see the street sign, just so he can see, you know, what that life was about around the Ocho. So time goes on and they going down there and they recording. You know what I'm saying? They doing all types of stuff back and forth out Yonkers and everything rolling. And at this time, the Figgas is lit. But this is also at the time when State Property and all them get on. Now, I told y'all about the middle school that Chops and Ruck went to, which was Gillespie. Now, they went to Gratz High School after that. Now, for those of y'all that know, Chris and Neef, they went to Gratz also. They was actually going to Gratz when they got that Rockefeller deal. They was actually, you know, celebrities. You dig what I'm saying? Because they had the machines behind them. But what a lot of people don't know, and what had got overlooked about the whole thing, was that Chris and Neef wasn't the hottest in Gratz. They wasn't the hottest in Gratz, bro. Chops and Rucky was them guys in Gratz. Chris and Neef was Chops and Ruck young boys, definitely Ruck young boys. Like, they looked up to Ruck. Like, Ruck was a walking legend, bro. I'm talking about, you know, walk around jewelry on and all that. If y'all pay attention to how the Figgas was carrying it back then, you know, they always had all types of, you know, they was been doing them Rolexes and the Versace and all that stuff. You know, Rucky was doing that. He did that to the T. You dig what I'm saying? Rucky was a real flashy, you know, get all the ladies type of guy. And he was hot, and he rapped about what he lived about in the streets. It was a lot of OGs that was getting money. I'm talking about like real money in the streets. And they loved Ruck so much that they was always around him. All the OGs that was getting bread, they made sure that they was around him. That was just his lifestyle. Like, he was living it. Like, he really manifested that. So I need y'all to remember these details that I just gave y'all about Chris and Neef being Ruck young boys. Ruck was already boy. You know what I'm saying? Before Chris and Neef was ever known around the world. Of course they was rapping, but they wasn't the hottest rappers in Gratz. Now, time goes on, and one day, Bump happened to be up 19th and Venango, right? So Bump up 19th and Venango, and he arguing with somebody, cause this guy is saying that his man is hot, can't nobody see him. So they up 19th and Venango, they going back and forth. Bump like, what? My young boy Ruck will wipe anybody that you got, bro. Like, he'll wipe out anybody. Now, as the words continue to get exchanged, what Bump end up finding out is that the young boy that the dude from 19th and Venango is talking about is Cassidy. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, or I'm pretty sure most of y'all done heard already, that this battle had took place, and I'm about to tell y'all the details on what happened in that battle, and this is exactly how the battle started. So Bump and Cass Oldhead is going back and forth, Cass man, and they're going back and forth. So what happens is Cass and Ruck don't end up battling that day. Bump into this guy on numerous occasions, and every time they bump into each other, it's the same thing. They going back and forth till one day Cass was ready. You know what I'm saying? Cass Peoples was like, you know what? What's up? We could do it right now. Bump like, what? You want to do it right now? Pull up to the Ocho. Pull up to the Ocho right now. So Cass, the distance from 19th and Venango to the Ocho, you can literally, you know what I'm saying, you can walk there. And this was at a time where, you know how it be, you know what I'm saying, you could be in the hood 4-5 blocks over. And when people out in the streets, you not hopping in the car all the time. Half the time, being young and coming up, we ain't have licenses anyway. We hopped in them wheels if we had to, especially if you was walking around dirty. So what happened was, Cass and his folks from 19th and Venango, they came to Ruck Block. Bro, when they came to Ruck Block, it was already like 50 people on the Ocho. The Ocho was that. And I'm not saying it's not no more, but you know, at this time, you know, it was lit up. You dig what I'm saying? Like it was a lot of people. You know how time go on, and a lot of people is not here no more, whether, you know, they dead or in jail. But at this time, it was a lot of people still out and active. So it was already like 50 people out there. Cass pull up with like 20 people from 19th and Venango. So they go out there, man, they get straight to it. Man, listen, bro. They went 3 rounds. It was no more than 4, but it was definitely at least 3 rounds. They out there, you know, Cass was always nice, but he couldn't see Rucky, because not only was Rucky hot, he was too ahead of his time. And not only was he too ahead of his time, the stuff that he rapping about, you can see it. If he rapping about having gear on, if he rapping about having Versace on, if he rapping about this watch, you see it. So Cass lost all 3 rounds. It wasn't one round that Cassidy won. And out of the 70 people that was out there, including Cass people, everybody said that Rucky won. Cass people said Rucky won. Rucky people said Rucky won. Now, it was no camera, and this was in the hood. Remind you, Rucky died at a very young age. So salute to Cassidy, because he is, you know, definitely one of the GOATs. And as time went on, he became a monster. But Rucky was the man then. And it was nothing that Cass could say that none of that stuff was sticking. Like, you know, Ruck got him up out of there. So that's exactly what took place for the battle. And, you know, I don't know if that was, you know, ever even explained, period. But that's what happened. But with that being said, Rucky, you know, being who he was. And, you know, his mom passed at a young age. Like I said, it was him and his brother. And, you know, him and Milk, they was just trying to, you know, they both was their own person. You dig what I'm saying? Like Milk was in the trenches, still had love in the hood and all of that, but he wanted better. He didn't want to get stuck in the streets. You know, he had a vision. So Milk took the route where it was like, you know, he went to college. He was, you know, trying to do the right thing. And, you know, Ruck was more flashy. Like, Ruck wanted the fast money, the fast cars, the jewelry, the women. So, you know, Ruck was in the trap. You dig what I'm saying? He was getting the bread, and he was affiliated with the people that he needed to be affiliated with to get to that bag. But that leads me to saying this, is that like Ruck didn't grow up in a household where he didn't open up the fridge and there wasn't nothing in there. You know, that the average hood story where it was like, you know, his peoples could have bought him Air Forces, but he wanted the Gucci's. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to wear Louis, so he always wanted more, even though he had a loving family. So time goes on, and around the time, like I said, when Ruck and Chops, they was going out Yonkers, all of a sudden, this is around the time when State Property and the Figgas start going back and forth. Now, this right here, this is like, you know, 3 stories all connected to one story. Now, you know, it was obviously, you know, some type of tension between the Figgas and State Property, because most of them mutually knew each other before. Like I said, Chris and Neef, they knew who Ruck was, you know what I'm saying, from Gratz. He was already the man. Sieg already knew who the Figgas was, because the Figgas was already them guys by the time Sieg had got on. So somewhere down the line, it became tension, and this is where we heard the Cosmic Cav QDZ come up show. And this is why to this day that Cosmic Cav QDZ is no longer on, you know, the come up show. But this is why to this day that Cosmic Cav don't play no diss tracks with Philly artists going back and forth with each other, because this was one of the first Jones where it was like, it was broadcasted on live radio, and there was a life that ended up getting taken out of it. But before that life even got took, they start having these back and forth conversations where, you know, Beans and them call up to the studio. You know, Beans start having words and all that. Chris and Ruck start having words. Now, it got real crazy, because at this time, it's like, now that you got the Figgas that's really feeling offended, and you got State Property where they had the machines behind them, and, you know, they felt like, you know, they was above everything, which they had the city in the palm of their hand. You know, I'm not gonna lie, once they got them machines behind them and they was able to get, you know, promoted, and nothing takes away from their talent. They was definitely, State Property is definitely talented, but, you know, the machines can do a lot as far as exposure, as far as, like, you know, budgets and things of that nature. So they go back and forth. Now, a lot of people see that, and then they was like, you know, that was, you know what I'm saying, all right, that was a little back and forth, and they play that. And I know probably like last month that it was an issue where people was talking about, you know, the Beans and Gil situation. That's a story of its own too, but just to brief it up, you know, for those of y'all that's out of state, and I know it's a lot of details in this, but y'all have to pay attention, because all of this combines in the, you know, it plays a part into the timeline. And this story don't got nothing to do with Ruck passing, but, you know, this is where a lot of things went left at. After they had the altercation over the radio, what happened was Gil was down, you know, Mitchell and Ness, that's downtown in Philly. Like, Philly, you know, we got stuff like South Street and all that. Like, it's just strips of stores. So, you know, I know, like, they was talking on all through the internet saying that, you know, Gil was in the mall. You know, he wasn't in the mall. They was in the Mitchell and Ness store. And you know, Beans pulled up on him, and whatever happened. But you know, from what I heard it was also what Gil said, as far as, you know, Beans definitely swung on him. But as far as them connecting, I can't see them connecting like that. Because you gotta remember, Gil was probably like 120 pounds. And Beans was putting people in their back pockets with his two-piece, you dig what I'm saying? He was putting the big guys down. So if them Jones would have connected on Gil, we gotta understand that Gil lights would have been put out. Gil face would have been, you know, on dubs. And back then, you know, Gil was always outside. So somebody would have been able to verify how Gil face looked. Even with Birdman would have been like, you know, Gil face was like, you know, he was leaking. You know what I'm saying? He was leaking from his nose or something. You didn't hear none of that. So, you know, it's always different sides to the story. But after this happened, was the beginning of the downfall of the Figgas as a group all around this time. So with all of this happening, everybody taking their independent deals and going separate routes. Now, you got Rucky, you got Chops. They still in the hood. You dig what I'm saying? They didn't have a chance to, you know, get signed. Like, you know, Dutch and Spade had their situation. Ab Lava went with Pharrell and them. You know, Gil was just coming out of the Cash Money situation. He was still in the Cash Money situation, actually. And, you know, everything was just rolling. And Chops and Ruck, they didn't get a chance to get no deal. So Ruck had to get it how he got it. So Ruck had started, he was all like, Ruck also had people's, like, he was all through North, but he, you know what I'm saying, he had some old heads from down 18th and Cumberland. I don't know if y'all remember, but it was a group called the Crime Family with a few people, you know what I'm saying, from 18th and Cumberland. And one of the guys' name was Mag. And, you know, they had formed a group of their own. And, you know, that was the last situation as far as Rucky on his music thing. Remind you, Rucky run music-wise was, what, from 16 to 21? Now, Rucky ended up catching a case. He ended up catching a trap case. Now, when he caught this trap case, it's crazy because, you know, he ended up having to sit in Delaware County. You know what I mean? When he had got booked, he had to sit out Delaware County for a minute. It was probably about like a year and a half or something like that. So, you know, while he's sitting out there, he doing his bed. And by the time he come home, Chops was locked up. Chops had courted case. Now, when Rucky had came home, Rucky was on house arrest. He had the ankle monitor on. And I think Rucky had to do like 6 months on house arrest. Rucky didn't want to do those 6 months, bro. Rucky didn't do no more than 3 months on it. He did about 2 to 3 months on house arrest. And at this time, his brother that, you know, was also living with him, he was already away at college, you know, trying to pursue his career. He went to college, you know, while, you know what I'm saying, Ruck and everything, while Ruck was booked. So when he come home, when Ruck get home, it's like he on house arrest. His brother was away at college. You know what I'm saying? You had, I told you, Chops was upstate. Rolly was locked up. You know what I'm saying? It was messy out there. You dig what I'm saying? It was messy out there, joint. So, you know, Ruck ain't had no patience. He was too used to getting money. He was too used to, you know, providing for himself and stuff like that. So he cut the ankle monitor off. But he was still playing his hood. He just wasn't, you know, in the crib, and, you know, he was moving strategically because he knew those folks was going to be looking for him. So after he cut the strap off, he moving around, and this was the beginning of the ending right here. So while he out and he moving around, everything was good, bro. Everything was good. he ended up staying at a spot with one of his homies. You dig what I'm saying? From back around that area. And, you know, he was living with him and everything was good. Him and his brother, you know, they was speaking on a daily basis. His brother telling him about college and stuff. And, you know, he was just actually, you know, he was actually like, you know, it was an unfortunate situation. And you know what? Actually, I made a mistake. I want to make sure this timeline is accurate. His brother was in college, but his brother graduated just before Rucky came home. So Rucky was upset that he didn't get to see his brother graduate. You know, one thing about Rucky was, you know, he was loyal to family and friends. So he was upset that he didn't get to, you know, see his brother, you know, gain that success, bro, coming from where they came from. But, you know, he had eventually came home. Like I said, he cut his ankle bracelet off, and him and his brother was still in contact. His brother was, you know, moving on with life. His brother had got his own spot, you know, living with his girl and everything. And they talk on the phone every day. 2 days before his birthday, like I said, his brother talked to him every day. And so did his circle of people that he dealt with. For some reason this day, Rucky wasn't answering his phone. Everybody calling Rucky throughout the whole day, to the point where, you know how it is when you got a circle of people and you trying to reach out to somebody and you can't reach out to that person that you know will always pick up the phone and hit you right back. They start calling each other like, yo, you talk to Ruck? Like, I've been blowing him up all day. And everybody was sharing the same story. Like, no, I ain't talked to him. No, I ain't talked to him, bro. So at this time, they like, oh man, Rucky done got booked. Cause remind you, I told you, he cut his ankle bracelet off. So everybody thinking he got booked, to the point where his family start calling the district, you know, to try to see if they had him, you know what I'm saying, in custody. You know what I mean? They trying to find out where he is. And none of the districts in that area was saying, like, you know what I mean? No, we don't got Rucky not in here. Then they start thinking like, you know what I'm saying, we gotta hit up bro that he was living with. So they call up bro that he was living with, and bro was just making it like, you know, I ain't seen him or nothing. Like, you know, everybody felt as though, you know, his story was kind of shaky. And then as time goes on, the phone call come, and then, you know, his brother actually had received a call, and that's when the word had got dropped that they had found Rucky. Rucky was shot one time in the head. They found him rolled up in a carpet. It was like a rug that he was rolled up. You know what I'm saying? He was rolled up in a lot, and it was around 8th and Ontario area. Now remind you, y'all know where the Ocho at. 8th and Ontario, that's on a whole different other side of north. So people didn't know what happened. And then they was like, you know, how it sound was, you know, when whoever did it to him, they couldn't have did it right there. So that means when they got the 8th in Ontario, they put him in the lot. He was already shot in the head. And then they wrapped him up in the rug and then took him to 8th in Ontario. And then, you know, they proceeded to light that rug that he was rolled up in on fire. Now, at this time, they felt as though the person who he was living with, his story wasn't adding up. Come to find out, he ended up getting taken in for questioning, and then, you know, they let him back out, and then eventually it comes to the light that the person that he was staying with didn't do it. He didn't have anything to do with it. The dude that he was staying with actually had a shaky story because he was cheating on his girl who he was living with, who he was dealing with, and he didn't want that story to be out there. But he had to eventually, you know, come to the light and just let everything out the bag because he realized how serious it was at this time. Now, his homie's story is adding up once he told the truth and people understood what happened. But the next question was, if you had nothing to do with it, who had something to do with it? About 6 years go by, bro. This case to this day remains a closed case for those of y'all that's wondering. So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say this without putting no names out there and without telling too much. But the Ocho know what's up. What happened was it was someone that Ruck knew. It was someone that Ruck originally met. Ruck and his brother originally met this guy around the Ocho. He actually lived like down the street from him, and they was friends. And this guy was getting, when he was coming up, you know, people was doing stuff to him, like messing with him and stuff like that, to the point where he pretty much flipped out around his teenage years, like a lot of people do when they tired of the bull crap. And then he became a monster. Now, this guy right now, he's doing serious time for another case. I'm not going to disclose the case that he down for, but he doing a lot of time. And about 6 years after this, one of their mutual friends from the Ocho had got locked up and was in the same prison as this guy. And when they in there and they chilling and they talking, the guy ends up breaking down in jail and said he felt bad about what he did for Rucky. Excuse me, he said he felt bad for what he did to Rucky. And then, you know, his man was like, what you mean? Like, he like, bro, I feel bad. Like, you know, that was my work. And, you know, the style of what happened, you can tell it was more than one person. So I'm not saying that he put the bullet in his head, but it was definitely a robbery style murder. You know, it was a setup. Like I said, Ruck was getting to the bread, and with that, you know, jealousy and, you know, envy comes with that. So, you know, at this time, like I said, the case is closed, and it's 9 times out of 10 is going to remain closed forever, unless that guy in his heart feel as though, you know, he want to, you know, come up and speak on it and get it off his chest. Sometimes guys do that, but, you know, as far as that's as much information that I can give on that. But for those of y'all that was wondering, that's what happened. So all the other rumors out there where y'all might have heard this, y'all might have heard that, that's not true. You know, this is the actual story. He was shot once in the head. He was wrapped in the rug, and they took him to a lot down 8th in Ontario and lit it on fire. Now, Rucky only being 21 years old on the day of his passing, 2 days before he turned 22, his legacy lives on forever. Legends never die, and Rucky will remain to be loved in the city of Philly and throughout all his fans around the world. But what I do want y'all to do is, if y'all a supporter of Rucky, or if this is y'all first time hearing about Rucky, I want y'all to know that y'all can still support Rucky. Because right now, what's crazy is his brother Milk got a youth basketball league. You dig what I'm saying? And it's called Rucky Basketball League 18 on Instagram. But it's called the Rucky Basketball League. But if y'all want to, right now, man, go follow the Instagram page. Once again, I'm going to repeat it. It's called Rucky Basketball League 18. I'm going to also put the link in the Instagram and everything in the description. And he do it every summer. He do from middle school kids, high schools, and adults. So basically, it's from 10 years and up. It's for boys and girls. He funds it out his pocket every year, and he just does it in memory of Ruck. So if y'all want to support, man, make sure y'all, you know, follow the Instagram page, send DMs, you know, whatever y'all can, bro. Repost, you know, repost the league, post and everything, bro. You dig what I'm saying? Because Ruck was definitely a living legend, and he remains to be a legend. But this SB Twiz the Hood blogger, y'all heard it here first, man. I keep it raw and uncut, bro. Sub to the channel, like, share, all of that. I'm about this joint though. Y'all know how I carry it.